And away we go, episode 1286 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, March 23rd, 2026, and Washington Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels, as best as we can tell, is okay. His participation in this past Saturday's Fanatics Flag Football Classic did not result in injury. He was not carried out on a stretcher. He is not in a hospital. His playing career is not over. Everybody can calm down. Everybody can relax. You know, I, in doing this podcast, sometimes wonder if I should be talking more about things that other people are talking about. And I, in recent weeks, had heard a good bit of discussion about Daniels participating in this Fanatics Flag Football Classic. And I really didn't think that this was that big of a deal. And then I watched some of it on Saturday, and I now am convinced that this was not that big of a deal. And I am glad that I did not waste your time or my time talking about this. The Fanatics Flag Football Classic was a 5-on-5 flag football round-robin tournament at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles this past Saturday. This was an event that included the likes of boxer Terrence Crawford, WWE wrestler Logan Paul, and YouTuber IShowSpeed. Yes, a guy named IShowSpeed participated in the Fanatics Flag Football Classic. This was a modified celebrity flag football round-robin tournament in which, by the way, the actual flag football players dominated the NFL flag football players who were mixed with the celebrities. As you may know, flag football is set to make its Olympics debut at the 2028 Los Angeles Games, and what we had on Saturday were the following scores. Team USA blew out Wildcats FFC 39-14. Team USA blew out Founders FFC 43-16. Wildcats FFC beat Founders FFC 34-26. And Team USA won the championship game 24-14 over Wildcats FFC. Jayden Daniels and Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow were the captains of Wildcats FFC, which had San Francisco 49ers head coach and former Redskins offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan as head coach. Daniels played some receiver in addition to playing quarterback. Yes, there was injury risk. Of that, there is no doubt. And yes, Team USA did go all out because this event was Team USA's Super Bowl. Let's be honest, but there's a basic reality here that too many people are ignoring, and that reality is that there is injury risk in many things that an NFL player does in an offseason. And I'm not talking about OTA practices or any other team-run activities, but most, if not all, NFL players during the offseason work out, right? Run wind sprints, run long distances, lift heavy weights, bench press, squats, deadlifts, etc. There's injury risk in all of that stuff. Plenty of NFL players during the offseason get together to practice, right? We hear about that kind of thing all the time. The quarterback getting together with his pass catchers in California or Arizona, that kind of thing. Well, there's injury risk in those practices. What you don't want, especially from your QB1, is extremely risky behavior. You don't want him skydiving. You don't want him cliff diving. You don't want him riding a motorcycle. You don't want him fighting in a UFC event. I'll admit that there was some gray area with this Fanatics Flag Football Classic because, again, Team USA played hard, and Jayden Daniels did play some receiver, and you had guys cutting, and there were some collisions, but most, if not all, of the collisions were benign. And bottom line, Jayden Daniels competing in this Fanatics Flag Football Classic, to me, fell under the category of acceptable, risky, offseason behavior for an NFL QB1. The same way that him running wind sprints or doing squats falls under the category of acceptable, risky, offseason behavior for an NFL QB1. Life is full of risk. You shouldn't be stupid, but you shouldn't be scared. And I tell you what, if Jayden Daniels can't play in the Fanatics Flag Football Classic without getting hurt, then forget about it, okay? The Commanders should be thinking about taking a quarterback with their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft if it is the case that this guy can't even play in a flag football game without getting hurt. But Daniels, in this Fanatics Flag Football Classic, did not get hurt. And yes, I'm sure he got paid big time for participating in this event. And while I was not in love with him playing receiver, I think that we're all going to be okay. Again, this Fanatics Flag Football Classic included Terrence Crawford, Logan Paul, and I Show Speed. It's hard for me to take an event featuring I Show Speed all that seriously. All due respect to I Show Speed, who does have a significant following. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, which follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. This also is a podcast on which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. Next segment, the second of two conversations over two shows with Washington Commanders insider JP Finlay of NBC4. Next segment, we'll discuss the 2026 Commanders free agent acquisitions, who JP most likes, whether what the Commanders have done so far this offseason impacts what they'll do with that number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, why the contract extension for left tackle Laremy Tunsil got done so quickly, how receiver Terry McLaurin might feel about that Tunsil extension having gotten done so quickly, and more. JP Finlay, next segment with intel on and analysis of the Commanders. And also on the show, I'll talk college basketball, Washington Nationals, Washington Capitals, and Washington Wizards. We in college basketball over the weekend had Virginia and VCU in the NCAA Tournament, and George Washington and Liberty in the NIT. And each team's season came to an end. I'll discuss what went down, including number 3 seeded Virginia's 79-72 loss to number 6-seeded Tennessee at Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philadelphia on Sunday evening in the second round of the NCAA Tournament, ending a terrific first season for Ryan Odom as UVA head coach. I'll react to the big Nats news this past Friday afternoon, the team announcing having optioned outfielder Dylan Cruz to AAA Rochester. I'll give you a breakdown of the Caps over the weekend, going 1-0-1. Friday night, a 2-1 win over the New Jersey Devils at Capital One Arena, but Sunday afternoon, a 3-2 overtime loss to the Colorado Avalanche at Capital One Arena. The Caps are fighting for their postseason lives, so we did have another milestone goal for winger Alex Ovechkin. He joined Wayne Gretzky as the only players in NHL history, each with at least 1,000 regular season and postseason goals. And I'll address our rebuilding and tanking Wizards tying their franchise record for consecutive losses in a regular season at 16. Saturday evening, a 132-111 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder at Capital One Arena. Sunday night, a 145-113 loss at the New York Knicks. This is the 5th time in franchise history that the Wizards have had a 16-game losing streak in a regular season, including 4 times over the last 3 seasons, which is the span of the Wizards tank.
The damn Washington Wizards!
Thank you, ESPN's Stephen A. Smith. Before we get to feedback, news from 2026 Baltimore Orioles spring training in Sarasota, Florida. The O's on Saturday afternoon announced having optioned starting pitcher Dean Kramer to minor league camp. This was surprising, but does make sense when you think about the circumstances. The O's have starting pitching depth like they have not had in years, so the team early in the 2026 regular season has a number of off days, meaning that the O's early in the regular season do not need a 5-man starting pitcher rotation, let alone the 6-man rotation that has been discussed. Having Kramer at AAA Norfolk allows for him to start on a normal schedule every 5 games and then be good to go when brought back to the majors. So also having Kramer at AAA Norfolk allows for the O's to begin the 2026 regular season with an 8-man bullpen. But Kramer is coming off a solid 2025 season. Kramer in the 2025 regular season over 31 games, including 29 starts, led the O's with 171 and 2/3 innings pitched and registered 2.2 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference. So the 2026 season will be Kramer's age 30 season. That the O's have optioned Kramer to minor league camp says a lot about the starting pitching depth that Orioles president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Elias has built up. The team's 5-man starting pitcher rotation to begin the regular season was announced by manager Craig Albernaz on Sunday morning and is as follows. Eagles. Number 1, Trevor Rogers. Number 2, Kyle Bradish. Number 3, Shane Boz. Number 4, Chris Bassett. And number 5, Zach Eflin. The bad news is that the O's continue to deal with injuries. Outfielders Dylan Beavers and Heston Kjerstad and reliever Keegan Aiken are the latest guys who are hurt. The hope is that Beavers will be ready for the start of the regular season. Kjerstad and Aiken were to undergo MRI exams on Monday. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. From Troy Carl on X, offer conversation on this past Thursday's show, episode 1284 with Pro Football Network's Alec Elijah, who has graded what each NFL team has done in free agency so far this offseason, and he gave the Commanders an A, writes Troy. Hi, Al. Alec was a good guest. I really enjoyed Thursday's episode. Pretty excited to see how the draft plays out. I know it's early, but I'm optimistic that the team has an opportunity to be improved if we stay healthy. Thank you for that, Troy. Look, if just Jayden Daniels is healthy for most, if not all, of the 2026 regular season, then our team should be much improved. If the Commanders just have better injury luck with Daniels, the team should be much improved off the hideous and injury-ravaged 5-12 2025 regular season. But no doubt, better injury luck at other positions would be nice. And the defense cannot be the horror show that it was this past season. The defense doesn't have to be dominant, though that would be great. The defense just needs to be decent. A healthy Jayden Daniels should make for a good, if not great, offense. That and at least decent defense or a realistic formula for the team having a good 2026 season. You know when someone says to somebody else in a condescending way, can you please just not embarrass me? Like a couple is going to some fancy function and one person says to the other, can you please just not embarrass me? That's what I feel like saying to the Commanders defense. Can you please just not embarrass the team? Can you please just not be awful? That would be good. Hey, thank you to all of you who have given this podcast a 5-star rating and to have written nice reviews of the podcast. You on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify can both rate the podcast and write reviews. 5-star ratings are very much appreciated. Positive reviews are very much appreciated.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
The top two websites for NFL salary cap and contract data, overthecap.com and spottrack.com, now include all that the Washington Commanders have done this offseason, as everything that has been reported now is official. That became the case this past Thursday. The data on Over the Cap and SpotTrack at times differs, but the Commanders per each site are top 3 in the NFL in salary cap space and each version of salary cap space. There are various ways of examining salary cap space. There's basic cap space. There's cap space when just looking at the top 51 players on a team in terms of money. There's cap space when looking at the top 51 and the cost of signing picks in the upcoming NFL draft. But no matter how you look at cap space and no matter whether you use Over the Cap or SpotTrack, the Commanders are top 3 in the NFL in cap space. The Commanders' activity in free agency so far this offseason: we have contract extensions for left tackle Laremy Tunsil, center/guard Nick Allegretti, and safety Jeremy Reeves. We have the following re-signings of pending unrestricted free agents / actual unrestricted free agents: quarterback Marcus Mariota, receiver Treylon Burks, running back Jeremy McNichols, left guard Chris Paul, tackle/guard Andrew Wiley, offensive tackle Trent Scott, interior defensive lineman Shai Tuttle, edge defenders Dietrich Wise Jr. and Drake Jackson, kicker Jake Moody, and punter Tress Way. We have the following unrestricted free agent acquisitions: tight end Chiga Okonkwo, receivers De'Ami Brown and Van Jefferson, running backs Rashad White and Jerome Ford, interior defensive lineman Tim Settle, linebacker Leo Chanel, Edge defenders Adafe Owe, Calevon Chason, and Charles Omenahu. Quarterback Amik Robertson and safety Nick Cross. We have the following unrestricted free agent defections. Quarterback Josh Johnson, running back Chris Rodriguez Jr., edge defender Jacob Martin, and cornerbacks Jonathan Jones and Noah Igbenogany. And we have the team having released center Tyler Biotish and cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast for the second of two conversations, Washington Commanders insider JP Finlay of NBC4, for which he is the host of All Ears with JP Finlay. JP joined us on this past Friday show, episode 1285. JP also is the co-host of B. Mitch and Finlay on 106.7 The Fan, weekdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. JP also is the co-host of the Beltway Football Podcast. You can follow JP on X at JP Finlay NBCS. He has a terrific YouTube channel, too, at JP Finlay DC. JP, good to talk to you again. You know, you and I just don't cover the Commanders and talk about the team. We're also fans of the team. And there, amongst us fans, was a lot of anger off the disappointing 2025 season. And that anger seemed to spill into free agency, with a portion of the fan base furious with the team for supposedly not doing much. And then came Wednesday, March 11th, on which we learned of the team doing a whole lot. And that seemed to calm people down. March 11th was day 3 of the legal tampering period and was day 1 of the new league year. Is the angst of us fans now gone?
I think largely the angst has subsided. I think, I think the Brandon Ayuk kind of the situation just hanging out there unresolved leads some people to continue to freak out about every Instagram post. But, everything I was told is they were going to be, pretty aggressive and really looking to address a lot of needs in free agency. And I think they did that. I think they also, what mattered to me more was, if you go back to like AP's first year running things, he gave out some real contracts, not just the 1 year like Band-Aid contracts, but 3-year deals with guaranteed money into a second and third year. And he did that again. Like, what I wanted them to do was identify young players coming off rookie contracts that are on the upslope of their careers. And we'll have to wait and see if they're proven correct with the guys they banked on. But that is what they did. So I think they deserve a bunch of credit for it.
Which free agent acquisitions by the Commanders this offseason do you most like?
I like Chenal's a guy I wanted them to draft going back in time, so I certainly like that one. Chigakonkwo, I think, really gives them a possibly dynamic weapon in the pass game. And, people are worried about the receiver situation. Like, I still think they're going to add somebody they consider like a high-end receiver. But I like Chig a lot. I think Owe could be really good. I love, more than any one person, I just love the speed that every player, outside of maybe Tim Settle, whose job is not to be fast, everybody they brought in has above average to high-end speed for their position.
Does anything that the Commanders have done so far this offseason preclude or increase the likelihood of what they'll do with their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft?
So I very much don't think it precludes anything. Like, I've had a bunch of people tell me that, you add Rachaad White and Jerome Ford and Jeremy McNichols, that they're not going to draft Jeremiah Love. And, I just think that's a really flawed, short-sighted approach. And I don't think that the team's taking that approach. All those dudes are on 1-year deals, probably close to a veteran minimum. Jeremiah Love would be on a 5 years of team control immediately. And if he's excellent, whatever, that'll work itself out. I don't know that Love is the pick. Maybe he won't even be there. Who knows? I'm just saying, the fact that you add Calevon Chason to a 1-year deal does not preclude them from taking David Bailey if he falls to 7. I do think they've given themselves a lot more flexibility to draft, whoever they determine is the best player available in that spot. And I think prior to free agency, they were pretty desperate on the defensive front to add somebody, to add a pass rusher. I think the desperation to add a pass rusher has waned, and I think that's a positive for them. I still very much think that, if Bailey or Reese or maybe Bain, but certainly Bailey or Reese are there at 7. That's a really real target. I think it probably has increased the possibility of them taking a receiver, which I think was always in play, but I would guess that's gone up depending how these pro days go and what the scouts say. I think if there was like a clear cut, I'm the biggest badass receiver in this draft, they'd be all over him. But as much as, some people like Cornell Tate or whatever, there's no like clear dominant, this guy's a stud receiver in this draft.
I feel like Adam Peters, over his 2 NFL drafts as Commanders general manager, has abided by the best player available philosophy as opposed to drafting for need. Has he in fact done that, in your opinion?
I think he has, probably, right? Like, taking Connerly last year feels pretty best player available because it was hardly a need. The year before you take Coleman, you trade for Tunsil, and then you take another tackle. Like, that doesn't feel very, like, need to me. That felt a little luxurious for Washington. And as you get into later rounds, it's almost got to be best player available because in the 5th round, what are the percent chance of that pick hitting? I bet it's below 15%. So you just gotta like ride with your scouts at that point. I'm trying to think back to the 24 draft, if anybody stands out one way or another. I think they took some guys that they really leaned on what they did at the Senior Bowl when they got to see it and be close to it. So, yeah, I think he's a best player available kind of guy.
We're talking with Washington Commanders insider JP Finlay of NBC4. The Commanders on March 13th officially announced having signed left tackle Laremy Tunsil to a contract extension. When it comes to why this extension got done so much quicker when compared to the contract extension for receiver Terry McLaurin last summer, yes, Adam Peters did seem to learn some lessons from the contract extension saga with McLaurin last spring and summer, but also Laremy Tunsil is elite at his position. Terry McLaurin is not. He's very good, but he's not elite. B, offensive linemen age much better than receivers. So you don't worry about a high-level offensive lineman entering his 30s the way that you do a high-level receiver entering his 30s. How do you view why the Tunsil extension got done so quickly?
Well, I think all the stuff you said, right? There's never been a debate if Tunsil's a top 10 tackle like there is with Terry. There's a debate if he's the best, right? Also, AP traded for him. So that was his guy. As much as they liked Terry, Terry was on the team under contract. They didn't have to actively seek out Terry McLaurin. And when Peters traded for Tunsil last year, I am very much led to believe that there was a implicit understanding, hey, a year from now I need a new deal, but I'm going to play on this one this year that has some guarantees, even if it's not that much, and I'll prove to you that I'm ready to rock. And he did that. He was a great locker room guy, and there was never a doubt about this one because I think he kind of did the right things last year, and they didn't have the contract squabble, and the other part of it is, it also helped their cap situation to get that done. Tunsil's cap numbers down to like 10, 11 or 12 million, I want to say. So it was good business for a team looking to be aggressive in free agency as well. Because if you start to think about, now I grew a little tired of we were in on him, surprised we didn't get him conversation. But if they really were close on Linderbaum and Pierce and Hendrickson, those were big ticket items that they might have needed the Tunsil cap space that was created by the deal. So I think there were a lot of factors towards getting this done. And I think honestly, I think it's good for all parties involved. I do wonder if it pisses Terry off a little, though.
Really? That's interesting.
I mean, I haven't talked to Terry probably since locker cleanout day, but I don't know, if you're Terry McLaurin and you've given so much to this organization and you go, that thing was ugly, right? All the way till mid-August. versus Tunsil's been here a year and they get him done the first day of free agency. Doesn't that just maybe Terry's back in Italy and he's not even paying attention to it. I wonder that.
I wonder, too, if Terry McLaurin might be mad at his agent, Buddy Baker, for possibly having mishandled the contract extension negotiations.
He might be. I mean, what we know about the deal that got signed at the end is that it wasn't like the most advantageous, lucrative for Terry because he didn't have a ton of leverage. And if you consider that, could they have maybe just signed it earlier? Yeah. But the team probably could have sweetened the pot a little bit and didn't. But, dude, like, I think AP is a pretty straight shooter with this stuff and maybe not the most, like, emotive guy. But if you think about Tunsil, since the end of the year, he was saying, we're going to get this done, we're going to get this done. And then at the Combine, I asked him about Payne, who's in a very similar sort of contract situation going into the last year of a deal with no guarantees on it. And he's like, no, we talked to Duran. We're really excited for him to play this year. There won't be contract talks. So, I mean, he's laying out what he wants to do. And probably some of that was there with Terry, too.
Well, something that I always come back to with Adam Peters is that he worked in the scouting department of the New England Patriots for the 2003 through 2008 seasons. Peters' formative years as an NFL executive were spent with the Pats during the peak of their dynasty, with Bill Belichick as head coach and Tom Brady as QB1. Peters learned under Belichick. There very much are Belichickian qualities to Peters.
Totally, dude. And even, I mean, his thought leaders over his career would be Belichick and then Elway in Denver when they were building up that roster. And then even the way the Niners have run things, like San Fran, I'm blanking on the guy's name. They let one guy kind of be the bad guy in contract talks, who's like kind of the more business side. But they play hard ball till the end. Think about all the stars they've had. They've got it going on with Trent right now. Like, and let me be clear. If I say, like, that might have pissed Terry off, I mean it in, like, a glancing fashion, right? Like, Terry sees that on the bottom line of ESPN while he's at the gym and is like, damn, they got him done right away, huh? But, like, it's not going to impact the season or anything. But it's interesting. Certainly the Belichick thing, to your point, that's I think a lot of times fans like separate like just your regular human life experiences, right? From like whether you're an accountant or a radio host or whatever, like, you know, when you first start learning how to do your job, those people impact you. And so people have AP maybe on this like pedestal or whatever. He's just a dude. He's just a human. Like when you were early at 980, you know, you probably learned a lot from Sheehan or Kornheiser or whoever. Like, of course, AP learned a lot from Belichick.
You are 100% correct about that. So much of life is you trying to take the best qualities of your influences and make those qualities your own.
Sometimes you also acquire some of the worst. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just through like osmosis.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, you, me, and Adam Peters are all around the same age. He's a little older than we are, but we're all in the same stage of life. Washington Commanders insider JP Finlay of NBC4. JP, thank you. All the best.
Anytime, Goldie. I always appreciate it, man.
All right, great to catch up with JP Finlay. The NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. Founded in 1979, the NACE Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by the great Chris Nace, the NACE Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The NACE Law Group fights for what it believes in: you, your family, and your future. You with the NACE Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The NACE Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The NACE Law Group, Accident and Injury Lawyers. Let's talk college basketball. We entered this past weekend with 4 Division I men's basketball teams in the Mid-Atlantic region still playing, but all 4 teams' seasons ended over the weekend. Number 3 seeded Virginia beat number 14 seeded Wright State 82-73 at Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philadelphia on Friday afternoon in the first round of the NCAA Tournament. But number 3 seeded Virginia lost to number 6 seeded Tennessee 79-72 at Xfinity Mobile Arena in Philadelphia on Sunday evening in the second round of the NCAA Tournament. That was a tough loss to Tennessee. UVA overcame a 9-point second-half deficit, had a 71-70 lead with less than 2 minutes left in the second half, but the Cavaliers that lost the rest of the game 9-1. UVA did not shoot well. The Wahoos went 12 for 35 on threes, just 15 for 34 on twos, and just 6 for 11 on free throws. Tennessee went 19 for 25 on free throws, and that free throw discrepancy in a lot of ways was the game. Also, UVA had trouble with someone who we know well, 6'1" Maryland transfer Jacoby Gillespie. He in 38 minutes, 5 seconds as a starter, had 21 points, 6 assists versus 3 turnovers, 3 rebounds, and a game best plus-minus rating of plus 13. He went 3 for 5 on threes and 6 for 6 on free throws. It did go just 3 for 9 on twos. But if you are a Maryland fan like me, our team could have used Jacoby Gillespie this season. UVA's leading scorer was 6'9" Belgian true freshman Tester Ritter. He in 31-27 as a starter had 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists versus 1 turnover. He went 4 for 6 on threes, did go just 4 for 8 on twos, and just 2 for 4 on free throws, but a really good season for Tester Ritter. UVA's leading scorer in the win over Wright State was 6'3" North Dakota State transfer Jakari White. He in 24-29 as a reserve had 26 points and 3 rebounds. He went 6 for 8 on threes and 4 for 4 on twos. Did not attempt a free throw, but he became the first reserve in an NCAA tournament game to score at least 26 points and shoot at least 83% from the field since Middle Tennessee's Mike Buck in 1989. UVA, with that win, snapped a 3-game losing streak in NCAA tournament games. The Cavs notched their first win in an NCAA tournament game since winning the 2019 National Championship game. And bottom line, a great season, number 1 for UVA with Ryan Odom as head coach. Overall record of 30-6 when you look at the regular season and postseason. Ryan Odom, in his first season as UVA head coach, joined Terry Holland and Tony Bennett as the only head coaches to lead UVA to at least 30 wins in a season. We, during Odom's post-game press conference on Sunday night, had this exchange.
Mike Barber-Siebel right now. What did you accomplish program building in this first year? Because obviously the season itself was great. The coaches talk about their first team at a school sometimes being foundational. What did you accomplish program building wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think they understand the value of a Virginia degree and being a part of Virginia basketball and the history of Virginia basketball. They added their own legacy to it. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's hard to win 30 games, and this particular group found a way to get to 30 and, advance in the NCAA tournament. And, we certainly want to continue to advance and try to cut down nets in our own conference and in the tournament. That's certainly the goal for all teams at our level. And I think, this particular group, you can, they represented the school in a really positive way. I mean, I think that they set the table, and set the bar really high, for, future teams. And, I'm really proud of what these guys did.
And he should be. VCU season is over. Number 11 seeded VCU lost to number 3 seeded Illinois 76-55 at Bon Secours Wellness Arena in Greenville, South Carolina on Saturday night in the second round of the NCAA Tournament. The Rams held a lead for just 24 seconds of the game's 40 minutes, trailed for 35-52 of the game's 40 minutes. A tough blow for VCU in that key player, 6'1" true freshman Nick Lewis, played for just 46 seconds as a starter. He, in the first minute of the game, suffered a right ankle injury. Nick Lewis went to Gonzaga College High School in Washington, D.C. But hard to be mad at VCU for the season that the program just had. It, in March 2025, lost its head coach, the aforementioned Ryan Odom, as he left to become Virginia's head coach. VCU, in March 2025, hired Phil Martelli Jr. as head coach. He spent the previous 2 seasons as Bryant's head coach, and VCU this season went 28-8 over the regular season and postseason, including an 82-78 overtime win over number 6 seeded North Carolina at Bon Secours Wellness Arena in Greenville, South Carolina this past Thursday evening in the first round of the NCAA Tournament, in a game in which the Rams overcame a 19-point second-half deficit. During Phil Martelli Jr.'s post-game press conference late night on Saturday night, had this exchange.
Alexis Washington, the Commonwealth Times. Obviously not the outcome that the team wanted, but for you as a coach, you coached VCU first time as a head coach, and you made history. We haven't been to the second round since 2016. So I'm just wondering, what are you most proud of this team as it came to an end today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really proud of their resilience. I told them when we got together in June, like we're not playing for good years, right? Like you have a good year and whatever that looks like, and people come by and say, "Oh, it was a good year," and that just stings to me. Like it just stings because there's greatness out there. I asked these guys to chase greatness, and they did. And 28 wins is great. A regular season championship is great. A conference tournament championship is great. A NCAA tournament win is great. And that's what they got. They got greatness. And they created just incredible memories for each other, right? And every time they walk in that Siegel Center, they're going to see those banners hanging up there. And that means something, right? And the bond and the memories and all those things that they created for themselves, for the fans, for the community, all those things will always be there. And no matter what, those can never be taken away from them. So I'm just really proud of the way that they, took all that on and were able to get exactly what they deserved and get greatness.
All right. Meantime, in the NIT, George Washington's season ended on Sunday night, an 86-61 loss at number 1 seeded New Mexico in the second round of the NIT. The Revolutionaries never held a lead, finished with an overall record of 19-16 over the regular season and postseason in this season number 4 with Chris Caputo as head coach. And Liberty's season is over, a 73-63 loss at number 2 seeded Nevada on Saturday night in the second round of the NIT. The Flames overcame an 11-point second-half deficit, led by 3 points at 61-58 with less than 4 minutes left in the second half, but then lost the rest of the game 15-2. But a nice season for Liberty, which in the regular season went 25-6 overall, including 17-3 in Conference USA to win the conference's regular season title. The shame was that Liberty was one and done in the Conference USA tournament and did not make the NCAA tournament. Number 1 seeded Liberty lost to number 9 seeded Missouri State 77-69 at Probst Arena in Huntsville, Alabama on March 11th in the quarterfinals of the Conference USA tournament. Liberty for that game was a 5.5-point favorite per multiple outlets, but the Flames blew a 10-point first-half lead. Liberty's head coach is Richie McKay. This is his second stint as Liberty head coach. He was Liberty head coach March 2007 to April 2009, then was associate head coach at Virginia April 2009 through through March 2015, and he has been back as Liberty's head coach since April 1st, 2015. Liberty on March 4th, 2025, announced having agreed with McKay on a contract extension through the 2030-2031 season. The Washington Nationals' final game of MLB's 2026 exhibition season is on Monday afternoon. Nats versus the Baltimore Orioles at Nationals Park on Monday afternoon at 1:05. MLB's 2026 regular season begins on Wednesday with one game, the New York Yankees at the San Francisco Giants, Wednesday night at 8:05 on Netflix. And then opening day is this Thursday. It includes the Nats at the Chicago Cubs, Thursday afternoon at 2:20 in Game 1 of a 3-game series, and the O's home to the Minnesota Twins, Thursday afternoon at 3:05 in Game 1 of a 3-game series. The Nats in recent days have made a number of notable cuts, none more prominent than that of outfielder Dylan Crews. The Nats this past Friday afternoon announced having optioned Dylan Crews and reliever Jackson Rutledge to AAA Rochester. This as part of quite the stretch of notable cuts. The Nats the previous Friday afternoon, March 13th, announced having optioned pitcher Mitchell Parker to AAA Rochester. The Nats last Wednesday afternoon, March 18th, announced having optioned catcher Harry Ford to AAA Rochester and announced having reassigned catcher Riley Adams to minor league camp. The Nats this past Thursday morning, March 19th, announced having optioned starting pitcher Josiah Gray and outfielder Robert Hassel III to AAA Rochester. The Nats this past Friday afternoon, March 20th, announced having optioned outfielder Dylan Crews and reliever Jackson Rutledge to AAA Rochester. Also, the Nats this past Saturday afternoon, March 21st, announced having unconditionally released veteran reliever Drew Smith. The Harry Ford, Robert Hassel, and Dylan Crews demotions all were surprising to various degrees, but the Crews demotion absolutely stands out the most, and there's no sugarcoating this. He's a mess right now. Crews had a horrendous spring training season. Crews in the 2026 exhibition season, over 34 plate appearances, had an OPS of just .309, which is atrocious. OPS is on base percentage plus slugging percentage. To have an OPS over any stretch in the 300s is really bad, and it's not like he was hitting balls hard and just hitting into bad luck. He had a hard hit percentage per StatCast of just 26.3, and this is off Crews having underwhelmed in his MLB career so far. The Nats took Crews with the number 2 overall pick in the 2023 MLB first-year player draft out of LSU. He was viewed as a near major league ready player, but he over his first 2 MLB regular seasons, 2024 and 2025, has an OPS of just .634 and an OPS plus of just 79 over 454 plate appearances. He in the 2025 regular season did miss nearly 3 months due to a left oblique strain, and some of his StatCast data over these 2 regular seasons has been good, but he overall has not produced offensively. His base running and defense are good. His batting is not. And that Nats president of baseball operations, Paul Taboni, option Crews to AAA Rochester is a very clear sign that the team believes that Crews needs a lot of work. Look, Dylan Crews and fellow outfielder James Wood are supposed to be the 2 faces of the franchise. I'm sure that the Nats would prefer to have Crews work out his struggles while playing in the majors, but the team appears to believe that the struggles are so bad that he needs a reset in the minors. The 2026 season will be Crews' age 24 season. He is far from a lost cause, let me make that clear, but you know, the chance of him being the franchise outfielder who he was drafted to be has gone down. There's no doubt about that, because what's usually the case with a franchise position player is that he very early in his MLB career demonstrates that he is a franchise player, and Crews has not done that. Here was Nats manager Blake Butera during a session with reporters on Friday afternoon on the Nats having optioned Dylan Crews to AAA Rochester.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, it's always a hard decision, these types of moves this late in spring. But one thing that we made sure Dylan was aware of is, we absolutely believe in Dylan. Our thoughts on Dylan as a person, as a player, have only changed in a positive direction. we just think the best thing for Dylan and the organization right now is at least for him to start in AAA. Obviously, he has not performed the way that he expects himself to, not just this spring, but also his previous years in the big leagues. It was small sample size, of course, but we told him hey, you're going to be a huge part of this thing going forward. I know this is really hard right now, and it's really tough, but I promise you, players sometimes can probably feel like we don't think highly of them, and that's why they're sent down. That's not the reason with Dylan. We told him this. When we see ourselves making a playoff push, either this year, next year, whatever it might be, we envision him running in from the outfield for that dog pile. He's going to be a big part of that. And we expect him up here hopefully soon. I told him we don't want to put pressure on him to say, hey, you need to be up by this date or anything like that. But he was making some small adjustments with our hitting group the last few days. And yesterday in the game, he only had 2 plate appearances. The first one I thought was the best he looked all year. It almost felt like it was the first at-bat he had where he wasn't 0-1 or 0-2. He was in total control of the at-bat. I know it was just a walk, but even then it looked great. So we want to give him some time to work through those small adjustments in AAA where he's not, not 40,000 people yelling down his neck every night, and he can actually work on some of those things.
All right. I also want to note this regarding the Nats having optioned Dylan Crews to AAA Rochester. So one of the most frustrating things about the Nats' never-ending rebuild is that so many of their well-regarded prospects have disappointed due to injury or ineffectiveness or both. The Nats, since winning the 2019 World Series, have had 6 consecutive losing regular seasons, 2020 through 2025. The rebuild started with a massive fire sale in July 2021, and the rebuild ostensibly was declared a failure when Nats managing principal owner Mark Lerner this past July 6th announced having fired president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Rizzo and having fired manager Davey Martinez. The only well-regarded Nats prospect during the never-ending rebuild who at the major league level has been good from the get-go is James Wood. And this has come to make me really appreciate something. And that something is what went down with well-regarded Nats prospects who were big parts of the team's impressive run from 2012 through 2019. 5 playoff appearances, 4 National League East titles, and a 2019 World Series title. But think about the following guys. Third baseman Ryan Zimmerman, starting pitcher Jordan Zimmerman, starting pitcher Steven Strasburg, outfielder Bryce Harper, third baseman Anthony Rendon, shortstop Trey Turner. All were well-regarded prospects. All were good at the major league level quickly. And that now really stands out, given the struggles, to varying degrees, of all of these well-regarded Nats prospects in recent years. And now we have Dylan Crews struggling. I am in no way writing him off. But the Nats so need Crews to be the player who he was drafted to be, and he so far has not been close to being that player. One more thing on the Nats optioning Dylan Crews to AAA Rochester. This does pause his major league service time. Now, I'm not saying that the service time issue is why Paul Taboni demoted Crews, but if he stays at Rochester for about 2 months, his free agency gets delayed until the 2031-2032 offseason. The free agency right now is scheduled for the 2030-2031 offseason, the same offseason in which James Wood is scheduled to be a free agent. Again, I'm not saying that the service time issue is why Paul Taboni demoted Dylan Crews, but this is a potential silver lining to Crews having been demoted. Same thing, by the way, with Harry Ford. He's a highly touted catching prospect. The Nats can gain an extra year team control of him by having him stay at Rochester for the requisite amount of time. I know that this service time stuff can be a turnoff for fans, and I get that. But Paul Taboni is restarting the rebuild off the first incarnation of the rebuild having been a failure. So he'd be foolish not to at least be thinking of this service time stuff. Well, the Washington Capitals now have gotten at least 1 point in each of their last 5 games. The Caps now are 8-1-2 over their last 11 games at Capital One Arena. The Caps lately are doing some good things, but the Caps are running out of time to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. 2 games for the Caps over the weekend. Friday night, a 2-1 win over the New Jersey Devils at Capital One Arena. Sunday afternoon, a 3-2 overtime loss to the Colorado Avalanche at Capital One Arena in a game in which the Caps blew a 1-0 third period lead. The Caps in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season now are 35-27-9, good for 79 points. 6 points behind the New York Islanders for the Eastern Conference's second of 2 wild card spots. 6 points behind the Columbus Blue Jackets for third place in the Metropolitan Division as the top 3 teams in each division make the postseason. But the Caps have just 11 games left in this regular season. The Avs for this regular season, by the way, now have an NHL leading 102 points. Yet another milestone goal for the Great Eight, Alex Ovechkin. He in the 3-2 overtime loss to the Avs at Capital One Arena on Sunday afternoon served as the Caps' top-line left wing and scored a power play goal 14-17 into the third period, giving him 26 goals in this regular season, giving him an NHL record 923 career regular season goals, and giving him 1,000 regular season and postseason goals in his NHL career. He joined Wayne Gretzky as the only players in NHL history, each with at least 1,000 regular season and postseason goals. Also, Ovechkin had a game-high tying 3 shots on goal. He did commit a second-period hooking minor, and he was next to last on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 17.65. The Caps, with Ovi on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game, had just 3 shot attempts versus allowing 14 shot attempts. Ovi in the 2-1 win over the Devils at Capital One Arena on Friday night served as the Caps' top-line left wing. Had no points, but he did have a team-high tying 4 shots on goal. But Alex Ovechkin, 1,000 regular season and postseason goals in his NHL career. Here was Caps head coach Spencer Carberry during his postgame press conference on Sunday afternoon on Ovi getting to 1,000, and then you hear a follow-up back and forth between Tom Galletti of NHL.com and Carberry.
Yeah, I mean, a great moment. I honestly, until a few weeks ago, I didn't even know, like going into the season, I had no idea. We knew the 900, and so this is just recent of this coming up in the combined playoff and regular season goals. So we actually noticed as a staff the last couple games, like there's a few instances where guys were passing to him in spots where I was like, it seems odd. Like he had a pretty good chance there, and then come to find out, that he's going for his 1,000th goal, and it's just another accolade for him and his just incredible career, and to get 1,000 goals and do it on home ice and do it in the way I'm always like, I like the way things are done, and thought the Islanders and how he scored there in the celebration, like that iconic moment, and this, obviously not on that stage, but on the power play in his office, huge goal to tie the game late in the third period. I like, it's a big goal, so it was a big moment.
I was going to say, you're kind of reflective of your power play all season, but he hadn't scored a power play goal at home all season, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and that's his first goal from the flank all year. I'm pretty sure, like I know he scored 5-on-5 there, but I'm pretty sure that's the first time he shot it in on the power play from the flank, which is, think about that.
Just, I guess, the power play hadn't been good before that.
Yeah.
To see to get one breakthrough.
Yeah, I mean, it's struggling. There's no doubt. We tried different personnel. It's a good penalty kill, so you got to factor that in, but we've got to do more with the power plays we get. Cole's just, it's going to take some time. Like tonight and playing against Colorado, a really good team, really fast team that make you defend. Now, Cole gets to experience that, running the power play. But we need more from our power play, excuse me.
Good discussion there between Tom Galletti and Spencer Carberry regarding the Caps' power play. The Caps' only power play goal over the weekend was the Alex Ovechkin goal, the 2-1 win over the Devils at Capital One Arena on Friday night. The Caps went 0 for 1 on the power play. The 3-2 overtime loss to the Avs at Capital One Arena on Sunday afternoon. The Caps went 1 for 5 on the power play. The Caps over the weekend were perfect on the penalty kill. This is they right now are leaning heavily on their number one goaltender, Logan Thompson, and he continues to come through and and what has been a terrific season for him. He started each of the Caps games over the weekend. The 2-1 win over the Devils at Capital One Arena on Friday night. Thompson stopped 30 of the 31 shots on goal that he faced, and the Caps needed him to be great. They won the game despite losing the puck possession battle. They had 28 shots on goal to the Devils' 31, and per natural stat trick had 48 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Devils' 55, although that did include the Caps having 14 5-on-5 high-danger shot attempts to the Devils' 9. The Caps went 2 for 2 on the penalty kill. The 3-2 overtime loss to the Avs at Capital One Arena on Sunday afternoon. Thompson stopped 21 of the 24 shots on goal that he faced. The Caps lost the puck possession battle. They had 22 shots on goal to the Avs' 24, and per natural stat trick had 31 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Avs' 45, though that did include the Caps having 9 5-on-5 high-danger shot attempts to the Avs' 5. The Caps went 2 for 2 on the penalty kill. Other goal scorers for the Caps over the weekend: the 2-1 win over the Devils at Capital One Arena on Friday night. Caps third-line right wing Ryan Leonard scored an even-strength goal 9:36 into the first period, giving him 15 goals in this regular season. He did finish third to last on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 36.36, but Leonard became the first Caps rookie to score at least 15 goals in a regular season since Alex Ovechkin scored 52 goals in his 2005-2006 rookie regular season. Yeah, Ovi as a rookie pumped in 52 goals. Also on Friday night, Caps second-line left wing Alexi Protas scored an even-strength empty net goal 18-17 into the third period, giving him 23 goals in this regular season. He had a team-high tying 4 shots on goal, and he was number 2 on the Caps and 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 57.14. And the 3-2 overtime loss to the Avs at Capital One Arena on Sunday afternoon. Caps third-line center Justin Sordiff scored an even-strength goal 11:53 into the first period, giving him 14 goals in this regular season, and he was number 3 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 58.82. Also on Sunday afternoon, Caps fourth-line right wing Ethan Frank left the game due to suffering a lower body injury, so we'll see what happens with him. The Caps for each game over the weekend had the same healthy scratches: defenseman Timothy Liljegren, Declan Chisholm, and Dylan McElrath, and winger Ivan Miroshnichenko. The Caps on March 6th, what was 2026 NHL trade deadline day, announced having traded a 4th-round pick in the 2026 NHL draft to the San Jose Sharks for Liljegren, but he now has been a healthy scratch for each of the Caps' last 3 games. And the Caps' other acquisition in the lead-up to the trade deadline, forward David Kampf, he still has not played at all for the Caps. He has not played in any of the team's 8 games since, and on March 6th announced having traded a 6th-round pick in the 2026 NHL draft to the Vancouver Canucks for him. Kampf has not been playing off dealing with a visa issue and the birth of a child. These 2 trade acquisitions by the Caps, Timothy Liljegren and David Kampf, so far have been debacles. Next up for the Caps is a 3-game road trip, beginning with a game at the St. Louis Blues Tuesday night at 8. The Washington Wizards on Sunday night concluded a stretch of 5 games in 7 days. The Wizards, during that stretch, went 0-5, and the Wizards now have lost 16 consecutive games, which is tied for the longest losing streak in a regular season in franchise history. 2 games for the Wizards over the weekend. Saturday evening, a 132-111 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder at Capital One Arena. Sunday night, a 145-113 loss at the New York Knicks. The Wizards now have lost 16 consecutive games, tied for the longest losing streak in a regular season in Bullets/Wizards history. This marks the 5th time in franchise history that the team has had a 16-game losing streak in a regular season, including 4 times over the last 3 seasons. So the Wizards in March 2010 lost 16 consecutive games. The Wizards in February and March 2024 lost 16 consecutive games. The Wizards in November November and December 2024 lost 16 consecutive games. The Wizards in January 2025 lost 16 consecutive games, and the Wizards now in February and March 2026 have lost 16 consecutive games. Our rebuilding and tanking Wizards, they are making us proud. They, in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season now, are 16-55, second worst record in the NBA. The Thunder in this regular season, by the way, are an NBA best 56-15 and have won 11 consecutive games. The Thunder are what the Wizards want to be, but the Wizards tank does continue to go well. The Wizards do continue to have a bunch of key guys out. Now, Bilal Coulibaly, in the loss to the Thunder at Capital One Arena on Saturday evening, did return from a 2-game absence caused by a right heel injury. He was the Wizards' leading scorer. He, in 33 minutes, 44 seconds as a starter, had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists versus 1 turnover, 2 blocks, and a team-best tying plus-minus rating of +4. He went 3 for 5 on threes, 5 for 10 on twos, and 2 for 2 on free throws. Also, Leaky Black in the loss at the Knicks on Sunday night returned from a 4-game absence caused by a sprained left ankle. But Tristan Vukcevic in that loss at the Knicks on Sunday night started but left the game due to lower back tightness. Alex Sarr, he in the loss at the Knicks on Sunday night did not play due to a left big toe injury. He in the loss to the Thunder at Capital One Arena on Saturday evening did have a nice game, 22-01 as a starter, 14 points, 8 assists versus 3 turnovers, 5 rebounds, and a team-best tying plus-minus rating of +4. He went 2 for 5 on threes, 3 for 7 on twos, and 2 for 2 on free throws. But Trae Young has not played in each of the last 4 games, and he may now be done for the season. The Wizards on Saturday morning announced that Young, in the 125-117 loss to the Golden State Warriors at Capital One Arena this past Monday night, March 16th, re-injured his right quadriceps and also is dealing with lower back irritation. Trey Johnson has not played in each of the last 2 games, this due to right foot soreness. Keyshawn George has not played in each of the last 11 games, this due to a partial tear of the UCL in his left elbow. Anthony Davis has not played in all 22 games since being acquired by the Wizards via trade on February 5th, what was 2026 NBA trade deadline day. He's not playing due to a finger sprain on his left hand. D'Angelo Russell has not played in all 22 games since being acquired by the Wizards via the Anthony Davis trade. Russell has been being listed as not being with the Wizards. He is not expected to ever play for the Wizards, and Cam Whitmore is done for the season due to right shoulder deep vein thrombosis. Also, Justin Champagnie, he, for the loss at the Knicks on Sunday night, was not available due to being suspended by the NBA for 1 game without pay, as we had the loss to the Thunder at Capital One Arena on Saturday evening with 27 seconds left in the second quarter, had a fight that spilled into the stands and resulted in Champagnie and 3 Thunder players being ejected. The NBA on Sunday afternoon announced various punishments for the fight, including penalties for 2 Wizards players. The NBA suspended Justin Champagnie for 1 game without pay, and the NBA fined Anthony Gill $35,000. So the Wizards' leading scorer in the loss at the Knicks on Sunday night was Jaden Hardy. He, in 29:05 as a reserve, had 25 points and 3 rebounds, went 7 for 13 on threes, 2 for 5 on twos, did not attempt a free throw. Just 11 games, mercifully, are left for the Wizards in this regular season. Next up for them at the Utah Jazz, Wednesday night at 9. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Tuesday's show, episode 1287. We'll have plenty for you on the Washington Commanders. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
The damn Washington Wizards!
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes, and suddenly you lose your motivation to get out of bed. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, no matter the season or time of year.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round.
Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.